Thanks again for rolling with Olin. Here we go. We've got another fabulous guest on, Anneke Scott. How are you, Anneke?
Jeff, my friend. Great.
Yes.
How are you?
Good, very well. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, this is so fun.
You
Thank
know,
you for having me.
yeah. Oh,
We're
you
gonna
bet.
tell some stories.
We're going to tell some stories. We're going to have some fun. First off, you grew up in Palm Beach, Florida. What was that like growing up there? And, you know,
At the time, it was the 90s, 80s, 90s. So that was like,
80s, 90s.
yeah. So it was mostly retirees.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have very much to do as a kid. But still, I mean, I had a great childhood. My backyard was the Intracoastal. I got to go on a boat and that's boating and skiing and on any sort of craft you want, canoeing.
Yeah, and the weather's always right there, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's always hot and humid, but you get some rain and it just clears it up, and then the sun comes out, and then you. At my school, I wore a polyester uniform, so that humidness afterwards, it was terrible. But it was fun.
But you had a good time growing up, and then and then everything started from there, right? You went from Palm Beach, having dreams. I'm guessing. What were those dreams?
I was originally a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother was a dancer. My parents grew up in New Zealand. My mother was a dancer with the Bolshoi Ballet when they went to New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came to Florida, and I started ballet as her daughter because she was teaching, so I just happened to be in class. And then I saw somebody else's recital, and I was like, they're better than me. I want to go to that studio.
Right.
So I ended up going, it was a professional studio. I ended up professionally training ballet and jazz, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a dancer. So I went to university to study because I knew I had to get that out of the way. I had to get my studies out of the way. I went to Vanderbilt. And there isn't really a dance program there.
Right.
But at least I had something.
Yeah.
A foundation of education.
A foundation of education, except I believe I read that you were studying geology?
Doesn't really combine with dance.
Right. So how did you come across that, and what was that your original dream, to become a geologist?
No, I just wanted to go to a top 20 school. So so I got there, and you do a bunch of tour classes, and geology was just one that I'm like, I can do this. This is fun. I just love standing on ground and saying, like, what was here before me?
Yeah. And
just knowing that this used to be an ocean, this used to be a river, or just finding fossils, what was here before millions of years ago. So that was fun for me.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, you're going to school for that, so you're not like in like Egypt or someplace digging that stuff up and what have you. But it was
Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee, right? You're digging all kinds of things up there. But you enjoyed that. So then what was the switch in your mind or whatever? Because I believe it was 2002. You came out to Los Angeles, La La Land, Hollywood, California. What was that all about? Was that just like some sort of switch in your mind?
No. Same thing. My dad, I said my mother was a dancer. My dad was an ultrasound designer, and he still is today. And so I've got the science and the narrative, the beauty of both together. So the science for geology, and I was still doing ballet classes. So I think it was junior year that everybody has a mental case when they're in college. What am I going to do with my life? So I didn't want to do any more school. I had enough of school at that time. It was junior year. And so I said, I can't make any money being a dancer. I don't know what to do, but I still love dancing. I don't want to do any more school because you have to get at least a master's to go forward in geology. So I said, what if I go behind the camera instead of in front? So my choices are New York or Nashville. I mean, New York or Los Angeles.
Right.
So I was in Nashville, New York or Los Angeles. And at the time, it was like the beginning of Britney and Justin and Sync, all of my Mouseketeers that I loved from Florida. So there was music videos were hot at that time. And I was like, New York, it's kind of more Fosse, elitist. What if I go to LA?
Right.
where they're any kind of dance. You don't have to be a certain shape. You don't have to be a certain hair color, or all skills of dance are welcome. So I was like, I'm gonna go to LA. And then when I had this crisis, I'm like, oh, what if I go behind the camera? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to LA. This is what I'm doing. 2002, Halloween.
Right.
I pull into Santa Monica. I open the door and I'm like, brr.
Oh, because it was so much colder than Florida.
I grew up in Florida.
Yeah,
I didn't know that it got cold in,
in California.
In California.
Yeah. Sometimes.
So I made my home here. I found a little place to live in, and if I sum up my story, I worked for free for a whole year and a half, trying to work my way in. I had one person from Vanderbilt who I knew, who worked on like Vanilla Sky and some other big movies, that I called up. I had his number. I said, I'm here. I'm in Los Angeles. Yeah. And he says, great. Good luck. Okay. So I was like, okay, I have to do this the hard way. So any way I could look up. There was minimal internet at that time. So it was the Hollywood Reporter. I would fax whatever I had.
Right.
Multiple people just trying to get in, not knowing what I want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And you hit the pavement. But you hit the pavement running. So you started, were you a production assistant before you became an assistant director, or how did you get your first AD job?
I was kind of floating because I didn't know anything about the business. So that first job where somebody's like, yeah, come work for me for free.
Yeah.
I was like, great, I can learn something. He actually wanted me to help with casting. So I helped. It was ground level. I go over to his house, and it was just me and him, and I was helping him doing casting. So he gave me credit as a casting assistant or something like that. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So then we got to filming, and I was around a whole crew. And my first time having a walkie in my ear, I don't know the language. What's it like to talk to somebody and hear something in your ear at the same time? So. Hearing the rhythm of a set, like how you set up a shot,
heartbeats, the rhythm, right?
You shoot it, and then you change. Everything goes away. You turn around, or you have another rehearsal for the next one, and then you set up the next shot, and you shoot it, and then you do the next one. Just having that rhythm, learning that. And there was one guy on there who said, "I'm gonna do another one of these no budget films. Do you want to come be an assistant director?" And I was like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll teach you. Well, if you're willing to teach me.
Great.
Sign me up.
Great.
So I did that, and then I promoted myself as an assistant director. Back then it was Craigslist, and it wasn't as scary back then.
Yeah.
So I looked for assistant directing jobs.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I just kept doing free jobs, learning and learning until somebody on one of those free jobs offered me a paid production assistant on a reality show.
Oh, wow. Do you remember the reality show?
Yes. It's called Forever Even.
Forever Even. Okay. Was it?
I think we shot 18 episodes in Jamaica.
Oh, wow. That was nice. So here you get this job and you go to Jamaica.
I didn't go to Jamaica.
Oh, you didn't go
I did go to Jamaica.
The show did.
One of my best friend at the time, she got to go to Jamaica the whole time. I got to stay in LA and be a production assistant in the office, like sending stuff back and forth. But at one point, they said, we need to get this art department stuff down there right now. And I was like, well, I'm a New Zealand citizen, it's part of the Commonwealth. I can go. I don't need you don't need to get me a visa. You can just send me. And they said, great, go home, pack your bags, come back, we'll send you on a plane tomorrow. There's only first class tickets left, so that's what you're getting.
How great was that?
Darn.
Yeah, darn. I got to fly first class, and So you did that. You worked.
They sent me
how long
6
did you go
times,
there?
emergency.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So I was there for a couple of days each time.
My gosh. So I guess the show did pretty well.
They aired 8 of 20 episodes shot
Oh.
before it got
Well,
axed.
you got travel out of it. You were able to
did.
learn the business a bit, and then
did.
from there you ended up rolling into
Another
becoming
reality
another
show.
reality show. You did that for a while, but just
Yes.
if I can, just for people that are listening that want to get into the business, I think it's really important to know. And here's someone, hear it from you, how you have to work so hard at things and do things for free for a long time. That's your education.
This is 2
And
years
people,
of
right?
master.
Right.
Getting my
It's
education.
master getting your education from the sets, being out there, getting yourself out there, meeting people, being seen, and not expecting that you're going to make any kind of real money in the first year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever.
Plan to have some savings for 2 years. Yeah.
Absolutely.
At
Absolutely.
least.
Because people come out here to LA or they go to New York and, they 6 months, they're out of money and they go home and
Not
that's
enough.
it.
Not
It's not enough. So you have to stay with it. So what was because you've moved from second to first and then we'll talk about directing and everything else, but what was your first big job as a second? Do you recall?
We're jumping some years now. I believe. Okay, so after that reality show, I got one scripted show.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I met a lot of people that we just said, let's exchange numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And from that scripted show, we had Christmas. And then after that, we had something in this town called Pilot Season, which you probably remember. Doesn't happen anymore.
It's ancient.
So those people that I met there invited me on 6 different pilots, and I got to meet a slew of other people, and that kicked off my career. It was amazing. So I was a set PA for 7, 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can do it in shorter, but I just kept going.
Yeah, but before you go into, and keep that in your head if you can, set PA again, we're going into production now. You're a set PA, there's production office PAs, which you were
Yes.
talking about that you were doing with the reality show. Then there's set PAs, being on the set. There's also PAs that are specifically dealing with the cast, correct? I mean,
Yes.
they're, and there's different kinds of PAs, right? So you were a set
All
PA, you
sorts.
were on the set all the time, dealing with the assistant directors, dealing with the director, dealing with the producers and whomever, right? Is that what a set PA is
Yes,
basically?
the entry level. They're the only non-union people on the set, or with the cast, or with the director, or whomever needs some extra help, like sometimes with camera or costumes. They'll all have just, if they're allowed, one PA that's designated to them that they just have as their catch-all that goes, runs their errands or gets them lunch.
Takes care of it.
It's
PA
entry
is a
level.
production
Yeah.
assistant, right? They're helping out at any level. Do you remember where I cut you off and can you bring it
So
back?
I went, I did my set PA stuff, and you have to, as a set PA, you work directly with the assistant directors. You are part of their team, and they guide you to be doing different things. Some people, one of them runs the cast, one of them runs all the background, one of them does the walkies and passes out the papers, gets the coffee, and there's another one that is on set. Like, they're the one who's on set. The first AD says, I need this actor. They go and get him, and they bring him back. Or first AD says, I need something for the director. An apple, goes and get whatever it is. So there's 4 point people that.
Are you talking about an apple box, not just an apple?
PAs wouldn't touch an apple box on a real scripted show. On a commercial.
Oh, you're saying. Oh, so you are saying an apple. Give me an apple.
Give me an apple
Okay.
with peanut butter.
So can you explain what an apple box is? Just so we're.
An apple box is a piece of grip equipment from the grip department, and on a union show, only the grip will touch that.
Gotcha. And it's about this big. It's usually wood.
Usually wood. Sometimes they're plastic. If maybe a sound person wants one, that's more
Gotcha.
durable or something like that.
And there's also a half apple
And a quarter.
and a quarter apple.
And a pancake.
Right, and we're talking about and a pancake, but we're talking about the equipment. We're not talking about the half apple that's at craft service. We're talking about the.
You'll
okay.
have to know the context.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So you did all the stuff. You were, and you got into.
So
Second.
you have to, during that time, you talk to the assistant directors, and they tell you how they got into the union as a directors guild. So for me as a set PA, you have to get X amount of days and then collect all those days, call sheets, production reports, and pay stubs for all of those days. When I was doing it, it was 650 days, which will last you years.
Yeah.
Years to get those 650 days.
Years, because you're not working all the time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Weekends, holidays, you finish a show, you may not get another one
Mm-hmm.
for a month or more. And then, I was going to say, you have a binder. And then you make a binder,
Mm-hmm.
or two, because you have all these days of call sheets, production reports, and pay stubs, and you submit them to the place that will go through them all, verify all your days that you've done all these. Sometimes they throw them out. They say, nope, this is reality. We're not gonna. You didn't learn the correct DGA rules on this show, so that those days don't count. So either they'll say, okay, now you're on the qualification list, or they'll say you owe 30 days or something like that. So either way, luckily I turned in, I think, 800 days.
Oh, wow.
I
So
was
you
just
had more
like,
than enough to cover.
more than
But when you
enough.
say you're turning it in, you're turning into the DGA, the Directors Guild of America?
It's a subset of the DGA. It's somebody the DGA hires to go through all the paperwork.
Gotcha.
So I have now done 3 sets of those. So you turn one of those in, books, a day's production reports, call sheets, and pay stubs, to be get on the qualification list of the Directors Guild. Then you go do something called third area, where you are not allowed to work in Los Angeles unless it's on a commercial or something that's under $11 million. So I moved back to Nashville.
You did.
I did.
You did.
You moved back to Nashville, and that's where I think you asked me earlier what was my first job as a real second.
Yes.
And it was this movie called Boulevard. And it was one of Robin Williams' last movies. He came to Nashville and did this sweet $4 million movie of him being this driving up and down Boulevard. If anyone wants to watch it, I won't give it away. But he was just so wonderful to work with.
Yeah, and such a great, and I worked with him as well, and such a great guy, and they should go check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely, because it's a great movie, and you've been involved with so many great movies, and your AD career has gone from doing a lot of second work to first work, as I said, and you've worked on so many different projects. I'm going to name a couple of them.
So after
which
Nashville,
you
I
already know
graduated.
them. Yeah.
I came back. I did another book. I came
Right.
back to LA, and I was allowed to work in LA because after that second book of saying I've done X amount of days,
Yeah.
now I can work in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and I was going to also ask you, why did you do 3 books? Why did you have to do 3?
So my third book
Yeah.
was I'd done now more days to qualify to become a first AD/UPM. So first AD is another book, or you could do UPM. So I just went right to UPM and said, okay, which UPM is Unit Production Manager,
Right.
and that's the highest you can get in the non-directing side of the Directors Guild. So I was just like, let me get my books done. I'll never have to collect a call sheet again in my life, and it feels great.
Yeah. Okay, so with that,
Right.
you've got Unit Production Manager, UPM.
Yes.
You also have Line Producer.
Yes.
So tell us, what's the difference between a line producer and a UPM?
They're similar, and it crosses over a lot. It really depends on the dynamics of how those two, if there are, you always have to have UPM, but if there is a line producer, how that person would want to give tasks back and forth. The UPM really does the monetary. So they'll look at everything, they'll say, this is how many days we're gonna go, this is how many crew we have, this is the equipment that we have, this is all gonna cost about this much, and this is our budget. Oh, where can we squeeze some out of? Where can we take it from? Oh, suddenly so-and-so actor wants to take a private plane. Oh, okay, now how do we squeeze out more to allow him to do that? So that would be that. The line producer might have a little bit of their hands around that,
Yeah, a little bit more.
but they'll also create the line, and by that I mean they'll staff everybody up.
Okay.
Like, you've got this in the back, Pulp Fiction. So the line producer would come and say, I want my friend so and so to be the art director or the production designer because I know they've done something similar and I want them to give this look, and then I would want this hair and makeup person to come because it's very stylized hair and makeup, so they know the people that or if they don't, they'll go to agents and say, I want to hire somebody who's the director of photography. Can I see some reels that
Right.
will give us the look? So the line producer is really the person who's
doing the homework
creating the
for
line.
everybody, right? I mean, they're looking at
Yeah.
resumes, they're looking at reels for the DPs, they're looking at everybody across the board. It's not just, I mean, you were saying, some of them might have a friend because they've worked with them before, they knew that they did a particular project that was kind of that type of project. But there's all different ways, but it's not like they just hire this person, that person, that person. They are literally doing their homework to hire those people.
Yes.
Because they have to answer, not only, they answer to the higher ups, they're answering to the producers, the
Studio.
executive producers,
Yeah.
the studios. So they have to have that. And so it's, I mean, that goes a long way being a line producer or a UPM. Are the line producers also part of the DGA?
They are not.
They are not.
They are not. Which has its ups and downs. They are way above the line producers are
Yeah.
above the line. But they don't get the benefits of having medical, dental, residuals that come in unless they make their own deal with the other producers, how much residuals they're going to get from the show. The UPM, first and second, they all have set residuals, so they're not
Right.
going to negotiate anyway.
Yeah.
The line producer could say, I want more, or they'll give some up, or not getting it all.
Yeah. And they're part of the ADs are part of the union, part of the DGA. Line
Yes.
producers maybe they're part of the Producers Guild, maybe not, but
Yes.
it works differently.
Yes, they'll get their benefits through that.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So you have done so much. I mean, you did. I mean, I just I'm thinking off the top of my head, Forgetting Sarah Marshall,
Yes.
which was a great movie. Any
on-
story or memory of that you want to share?
It's probably the most fun one. I was a set PA at that time in Los Angeles. This is 2007 or six or seven, somewhere in there. If you've seen it on syndication or however you've seen it, maybe on demand, you know that there's a scene in there where Jason is in the nude.
Jason Segel.
Jason
For
Segel.
anybody who hasn't seen it. Yeah.
He also wrote it
Uh-huh.
based on a true story. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I did say that.
You did, and I think you're okay.
Okay. But he changed everything. So, but he said this scene really did happen, where he was in the nude, and the girlfriend broke up with him at that time. He was eating cereal. So I remember it was in the morning that day, let's get it out of the way, right?
Right.
I was the set PA at the trailers that time. I was taking care of the actors. And Jason said to me in the morning, he says, Anneke, I'm going to come out when I'm ready. That's it. Don't come knocking again. I'm going to come out when I'm ready. Okay. So I go and I knock on the door. Okay, Jason, ready for you. Of course, he's going to come out in a robe.
Yeah.
Something like that. So he says, okay, thank you. I'll just take my time. I said, okay. So the first AD is coming to me. Anneke, where is he? Where is he? We're ready. We're waiting. Money's burning. We're just all sitting here waiting for him. I'm like, yes, he will come out when he's ready. He has not left yet. He has not walked out of his trailer yet. Anneke, anything? Nope, not yet. Finally, he comes out. Okay, on the radio. He's walking. He just walks in gently. I just knew he had to get ready, whatever he needed to get ready. He walked in. They called rolling, and he did the scene. So, I don't know if he remembers that because I just worked on another show with him, and it's not something that I want to bring up again.
Yeah.
Because it was an emotional time for him
Yeah.
to recreate the scene of being dumped in the nude. But but he did remember me. It was very fun.
Yeah, you did a couple. Was it just 2 movies you did with him, or more? 'Cause-
Just 2.
Yeah.
Well, this last one was a TV show,
Yeah.
a series.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
also worked with Paul Rudd who I love. You did Ant-Man with him, Rise of the...
I did
Oh,
not.
was it you did not?
I did not
Oh.
work with Paul Rudd.
Oh, I thought you might
That
have.
was it. I did maybe did a couple of days on a different show,
Okay.
but I did work on Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
I
okay.
did Ant-Man. This is the third one. I think.
Rise of the... What was it? Rise of the... Do you know? Do you even know? Well, I have it in my notes.
It's the third one.
Hey, folks! Sometimes you have to look at your notes when you just forget things, okay? It's all good. If I could even remember what my notes were, you know. Let's see. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
That's right. That's right. I got a
Quantumania?
hat. I forgot.
I gotta say, I did not see that one.
Quantum Mania. That's right.
I didn't even know if I could say it. Okay, go ahead.
I was invited
Mhm.
to work on it in the plate unit in San Francisco. So the characters live in San Francisco, and they were driving from their home to the police station during the story.
Mhm.
So they'd already filmed the characters, Paul Rudd and the other characters, inside the car with blue screens behind them, or green screens rather.
Okay.
And so we had to go and shoot what would go on those green screens, which we call plates. So I was on the plate unit. We had to go and, with the visual effects director, he was the director, he would tell us, so now I need this, now I need a forward shot so that we're looking out the front window towards
Gotcha.
the front. So he knew what plates we needed to get for out of this car, or even if it was just an establishing shot, or the car pulls up somehow. Any shot that does not involve actors would be called a splinter, a second unit,
Right. Right.
Plate unit, yes.
Yeah.
So what happened was we get to San Francisco, my first CD, whom I worked on many, many movies with him. He's wonderful.
Do you want to mention his name?
Doug Plass.
Okay.
Doug Plass, he does a
Doug,
lot of
right.
Marvel movies, yes. I just did a commercial with him, and I might do another. He's responsible for maybe my 6 days of work in this during strike. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
But this is last year, Ant-Man. We go up, we do a scout, and we're still having to wear masks kind of at this time. We do a scout, and Doug tests himself in the morning, and he's got the COVID.
Yeah.
So he says, "All right, Anneke, you're doing it."
Oh, my.
So from being the second AD, I'm now the only AD for that next day, which was luckily just establishing shots. We were at the house, and you get the sun rising, you get the sun setting, you get maybe clouds coming over. It was just in various positions of exterior of the house. And we brought up another AD to help me for that next day, because that was on a Russian arm, which is the technical people sit inside the car, and there's an arm coming off the top, and there's the camera on the end, and then it points whichever way that it needs to, and you get the plates that way. You'll look this way for going down the street, you'll look this way going down the street, you'll do it again. But we were downtown San Francisco, and I had an army of 30 PAs
Wow.
that I had to lock up all the streets. It was a Sunday, nice and busy. So it wasn't my first ADing, but it was my first time doing it with a Russian arm, and it's just like, here you go. One day to like mentally prepare for being responsible for lives in the middle of downtown San Francisco.
Absolutely. Responsible is not, taken lightly. I mean, 30 PAs, that's spread out all over the place. Like you
And
said, blocking up
15
traffic, cops all over the
Yeah.
place, which they do such a great job on our sets.
They're so helpful.
Right? They're so helpful. I mean, we're so lucky with that. But, you went on and you did a lot of first AD work as well. And you've done some
Climb the
top-notch
ranks.
shows.
Yes.
You climbed the ranks, and we're hearing all about that. And I mean, what was your favorite first AD, first assistant director job, if you could think of that? Like working with either people, actors, producers, one that you would just say, wow, this was just blew it out of the park.
I would have to say it's Shrinking. They bumped me up where I worked with Jason Segel again.
Right.
And the Apple show Shrinking, where I was seconding for the first 8 episodes, and then unfortunately the first lady threw out his back. So again, Anneke, step up.
Called up to the plate.
So for the last 2 episodes, I just took over, and I remember the day, the finale. There was a wedding scene, and I remember 200 people in the audience, and wedding people coordinating like when these people were ready, when they get to set, not having them melt under the sun, under the. The night before, I'm just like sweating, like, can I do this? But it went great.
Yeah.
It was so fun. They were all so supportive, and they treated me with respect. It was an experience I'd love to do again.
Well, look, you might very well be doing it again.
I might.
Right?
Shrinking season 2.
The season 2 is coming up, exactly.
Yeah.
You just got a call, so really good luck on that. You are so well liked in the industry. I mean, beyond. And I've had the pleasure of working with you a couple
Many
times, even though
yes.
we just did the Tim Allen Santa Claus movie last
Santa
year,
Clauses.
Santa Clauses, which was
Yes.
great, and that was great. Just working with Tim Allen alone, and
Yes.
Beverly Mitchell was in it, and I mean just a great overall.
Elizabeth Mitchell.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank
She's
you.
lovely.
Yeah, she's so nice. What a wonderful person, great actress, and it was just so much fun, the whole thing, and just working on a holiday movie is always fun, right? I mean, it's just so different.
I did the 3rd movie as a set PA. I worked on Santa Claus 3.
Oh, did you?
And when I got the call for Santa Claus, the revival, I was like, really? Tim Allen wants to get in that suit again?
Yeah.
He was always complaining how it's so hot, and I get it. It's really to put on all those prosthetics.
Yeah. Well, this one's different. If for folks who haven't seen it, I mean, Santa Claus kind of wants to retire, right?
He wants to retire. So some scenes, he's not Santa Claus.
Right.
Yes.
But what a great movie that was, and other projects we worked on. But anyways, you're so well loved, and you actually have a very, very interesting relationship, which I think we should talk about, with an Uber producer, Ryan Murphy.
I do.
How are you like?
Interesting relationship.
Yes, like you are. You're like his go-to girl. Like how? I mean, how did you get that? And explain it if you can. And for anyone that doesn't know, Ryan Murphy is a creator and producer of Glee and
Horror Story, American Crime Story, Feud,
Pose.
So
many.
Ratchet.
So many across. And I mean, he is like one of the top dogs in town and anywhere.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And you are his go-to girl. So
when he directs.
And
that was a relationship that came around. It wasn't something that he wanted, and he was looking to fill. It just sort of happened. So I did work on Glee a long time ago as a PA, but then I went away. I came back and I worked on the first season of Feud, and I say that because the second season is about to come out.
Okay.
They shot that in New York though, mostly. Then I did a little bit of Versace, which was a crime story, and then I left. I left the Ryan world. We call it the Ryan world. The cruise ship of the Ryan world. And then, I don't know, a few years later, one of his producers, Eric Cubden, he's a lovely man, he called me and he said, "What are you doing?" This is a Saturday. He called me and said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm available." What's going on? And he said, it's like, "Oh, are you be available on Monday?" And I'm like, "I'm a second now. You want me to come interview?" Because I still have friends in the Ryan world. I'm like, I know what shows are going on. I don't know of any openings, like to interview for a show I don't know about. He's like, "No, to start on a show." I was so confused.
Right.
He's like, "Okay, we just need somebody to stand next to Ryan at all times." And I said, "Hold on. So you're going to pay me my assistant director rate.
Right.
I get to show up at call and leave at wrap, which is not what assistant directors do. They're hours before and hours after. And I just have to stand there? Like, no paperwork? Are you sure? This is a trap. Let's give it a whirl." Okay, all right. So I show up on Monday, and he reintroduces me. He's like, Ryan, you remember Anneke from Feud? He's like, yeah, okay, great. Yeah. So we didn't really know what to do with each other at the time, but what he really wanted was somebody to help communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he needed somebody to say to the assistant directors, no, have the actor exit the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
No, have the DP change the shutter. No, have the actor do it again, but more monotone. However he wanted to do it, go again. And so he felt like he wasn't things weren't going fast enough. So he just wanted somebody there at all times, because as a second, you're only there sometimes by the director. You're moving the background, the cast are coming through, you're busy on your feet at all times. So he wanted somebody there. So that was my job for the first 2 episodes of Ratchet. And at the end of it, he's like, Anneke, this is good.
This is good.
Let's do it again. From there, he took me on to, well, I couldn't do the next one. He asked me to do Hollywood, which is a Netflix show. I was at the time doing a show called Love, Simon. So I unfortunately didn't get to do that. But after that, the prom.
You said no, and he came back to you.
Yes, I said. Because I said I can't do it, but I'd love to do the prom because I knew it was coming around. And so the producer was like, "Okay, the job's yours. Fine, let's do the job's yours." So I was like, "Ah." And the prom, I is probably the time of my life. It's a musical, and it's so underrated. I can't believe not enough people watch it. It's with Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, Ariana DeBose before she won her Oscar. Star-studded cast, and it was barely watched, and I love musicals. It was just gorgeous movie and wonderful to work on. So after the prom, then we went to Crime Story, and Crime Story Impeachment, and then he took me to New York for The Watcher for 4 months.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Wonderful.
Unbelievable. First of all, who says no to an Uber producer that, no, I can't work with you, right? And then gets hired back, which, is incredible. But it's such a great relationship, and he created a position basically for you.
This position does not exist,
right.
So I have to tell people what I do.
It's amazing.
I'm a Video Village bouncer.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So I'm the person that Ryan communicates through me, whatever he wants, or I go get it, or whatever it is, and I just create this shield so that I can protect him, and he can just relax and be himself.
Yeah. Talking about like guys like Ryan and producers, Uber producers, and big directors and big cast, and you get to know them all as you're doing your AD work and what have you. Do you ever get a real opportunity to socialize with them? Is that something that happens? Do you go out and have dinners with these people, or is it just like all about work and then you leave it to the side?
For the most part, it's just work. However, we used to have these things, as you know, called rap parties.
Right. Yeah, once upon a time.
Where, before COVID, where we would just get together afterwards and let loose after a show. Which I have a picture from a rap party. This was
good.
For getting
Perfect
Sarah Marshall
time to
rap party.
show that. Absolutely.
This is Jason and Kristen Bell from that. We were so young. I showed this picture to Jason when we were on Shrinking, and this is 2007, and last year was 2022.
Yeah, it's crazy.
15 years. Wow. And he's like, we're such babies.
Yeah.
Kristen's got a great career since then. Frozen has blown up.
It's unbelievable. And what a great picture. You look ravishing.
Oh.
Why don't we get to your other photo? Because there's a big story behind this, and I want to hear it.
This is my Ryan story.
Can we just hold this up for a second there?
This is a pink velvet chair. This was on the set of Ratchet. This is the origin story of, the Ratchet itself is an origin story of Nurse Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
So, but that's also the origin story of me working with Ryan when he directs. So he used to have this chair that was his lucky chair that he had on Nip Tuck, which lasted him over a decade. It was his lucky chair. He had to have it when he directed. and it just fell apart one year. So he had these what's regular now, like the low seat director's chairs, and he kept sitting in them and just like, oh, this hurts. This is so uncomfortable because you sit in it all day when you're forced to sit and watch. And so he just, like, one day he's just like, I cannot. So he was standing. So I looked around, I went onto the set, and I just took this chair right off the set. And I was like, Ryan, try this.
Oh my God. Set designers must have been
They
like,
hated me.
Oh
yes,
my
oh my
gosh.
gosh, I couldn't tell you later. That's why I took this picture, because I'm like, I stole this from the set if you need to replace it.
That's great. That's great. So he kept that for the rest of the shoot.
So with this, he then said, Tracy, you gotta try this, which is our script supervisor sits right next to him. The two of them sit right next to him, watch the monitors. So we pulled another chair from another pink velvet chair and put it in front of the monitor. So him and Tracy now have these two large light pink velvet chairs, and they sit and they watch. And he's like, this is so much better. And since then, yes, we stole it. I think it was a rental that was on the...
You borrowed it.
At that time, I'm just like, oh, try this, just for today. Have some comfort.
Then you stole it.
And then Ryan's like, this is coming with us everywhere.
Right.
So every set since then,
that chair
the
goes?
prop department has got to store this and bring it with us.
Look at
where
that.
he can direct.
That's unbelievable. What a story. What a story. Not only is a position open for you, which nobody else has this in Hollywood, but because of this, Ryan Murphy sits in this chair.
Yeah, we call it the Pink Thrones.
And that chair will probably be in the Smithsonian one day as well. I mean, who knows?
It might.
It just might. It might. Your responsibility for that. That's great, though. That's beautiful. And what a great shot that is. So working with him, working with all these people, and doing all the AD work that you've done for so many years now. Obviously, we're talking about how we all age in this business. You are now, and you're not giving up on your first AD work yet.
No.
But you are transitioning a little bit here and there, and you just shot your first, as a director, your first short.
I did.
Tell us about that. I mean, it's very exciting, and just tell us a little bit about it, because your mind. First of all, I want to know how a new director, or any director, how your mind works as you're thinking up a subject and you're actually getting it written and putting it down on paper, and then how it all works across the board, and how you shot, how you're going about doing it, just the whole thing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Luckily, there are lots of types of people that go about this and do this different ways, so we have different stories.
Yeah.
So my story is I never sought out to be a director. I was always like, my mind is mechanical. The assistant director, making things happen, putting it into a schedule, and calling people, you got to be here this time. That was assistant director. I never thought I was going to direct. But all these years, standing right next to Ryan, listening to him come up with shots and come up with why he would choose a particular location versus a different one, why he would pick a certain costume for somebody to wear versus, it just all sunk in, and I didn't realize it was happening. It was, nobody's had this master education from a great, but that I have, and so I didn't set out to become a director, but on American Crime Story, we had some director that was not very good at all. This person was, I was not the only one who had trouble with this person. So, even I think in the edit, they had trouble putting something together. And this was the turning point where I said, I can do this. She got the job. Said it's a she. She got the job. I want the job. She gets paid to do this. Somehow, I got to figure out how I can get there. not that I would ask Ryan out, but
Right.
yeah, I will go through the proper channels, and I will make my own short just to prove that I can do it. My love is a musical. I love to do musical, but I had to make a drama, and I just made a drama, and I had to prove that I can make something. So how I came up with this was, I love true stories. I just think true stories are so much more wacko than anything that people come up with. So I listen to the BBC a lot on XM radio, and I happened to hear this story about a man who found a strange job crashing funerals. People would hire him. The dead person would hire him to crash their funeral and spill a secret that they've been keeping their whole life. So when they go to that funeral, they would either say, I have 2 children that my family doesn't know about.
Right.
Or they would say, don't let my brother come to the funeral. He hasn't spoken to me in 30 years. Do not let him come in.
Right.
And he also has a book. This man also has a book of like all the things that people have said on, it's just the crazy things that people want to keep secret during their life, but not in death. They're like, I don't care anymore. I'm dead. I can let out my secret. And then like chaos ensues within their family just because they're like, I never knew this.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. How could they hide it from me? If whatever it was, that they had a secret surgery that nobody knew about.
Right.
Who knows? So I was like, okay, I'm going to make one of these. I found somebody to write it for me
Right.
because I know that's not my strength. I can find a story, but I knew that writing subtext and dramatic irony was just not my strength. So I hired someone. She did a wonderful job. And it's almost ready to hit the festival circuit, and I cannot wait for my directorial debut.
Well, I gotta say, I was one of the very lucky ones who have already seen it, and I thank you for that. And it is so great. And I can mention the title:
Yes.
Secrets Not Buried.
Secrets Not Buried.
And definitely, it's going to be making its way around the festival circuit, and it is so great. And you are such a good director. And I can understand, how much you've wanted to do this, working yourself up in the ranks, and standing by Ryan Murphy and other directors along the way. But
And
Ryan
other
Murphy,
directors, yeah.
especially, in this job that was developed just for you or created just for you, and to learn all that, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And so, yeah, I mean, everybody's got to go out and see it. Go on, when it's there, seriously. And you will be doing a lot more. I know that. And I'm sure I'll be working with you.
Yes,
I hope.
of course.
But it doesn't really matter because we're friends, and this is just more about finding out, what makes you work. What's the whole job description across the board. You could not have been more. It was just great on all this information. I also know that you have a YouTube
I just
channel
started.
that you just started. Tell us about that.
I love traveling. I love learning new cultures and anything. So I love traveling and going on hikes and trying new food, trying to talk to people, not just the big things from cities, but trying to really dig into a culture that I know nothing about. Because you find out some things that you're like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it?
Yeah.
So I am starting a YouTube channel with my new fiance.
Your new fiance!
My new
Oh,
fiance.
Congratulations! How'd you meet him?
I met him with the help of you. We probably would not be together without you. That is correct. Just next door to your office here, he worked, and we did not meet through you, but you helped us be together. I was working on impeachment at the time. We met on Facebook dating.
Right.
We had a date, or maybe we didn't at that time. And his name is Ron.
Right.
Ron came to you and he said, I know the industry is small, but it's big at the same time. Do you know anybody named Anneke? And your response was,
Anneke Scott?
he's like,
Oh my God, yeah.
you pulled out your phone, Facebook, this girl?
Yeah.
He's like, yes.
Yeah.
So.
And I said, yeah, I know her, and she's great, and you better go out on a date with her, and that was it. Yeah.
He was frustrated with me not responding to him so
Right.
quickly. So you were able to ease his mind and say, she works a lot, she's very busy, give her time to respond.
That's right. That's right.
She's worth it.
That's right. And now you guys are engaged, and you're doing
Yes.
this YouTube channel
2
together
years
because
later.
of all this traveling. And
Of all this
yeah, it's a
traveling.
beautiful love story, and it's also just just great to share that with with the people of the world, because it's travel is one of the things we all want to do, right? Or we all want to do more of.
Or
A
if
lot
we
of us,
can't
you
go
know,
ourselves, watching 20 minutes on TV.
watching it
Yeah.
exactly, and then we're there.
His name's Ron, my name's Anneke, so
Yeah.
we call it Adventures of Veronica.
Adventures with what?
Veronica.
Ronica, I like that. I like that very much. Wow, that's fantastic. Well, look, we could cover subjects, for hours and just talk and I'm sure hours and hours, and I'm just really happy that you came in today and that we were able to do this, and
Thank you.
just to sit and talk with you has just been really great. So thank you very much for rolling with Olin and coming out and just being part of this.
Thank you again so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.